This is the headquarters of what the US says is a front organisation for one of the biggest terrorist networks in the world. Yet most people have never heard of them.
Okay, they're a bit jumpy about us filming. We just have to be a bit careful about this. Access for a TV crew is very rare here.
It's a group that the United Nations says was ultimately behind the 2008 Mumbai attacks that killed 173 people. Once they simply wanted to regain the disputed territory of Kashmir from India, but their enemies claim they are threatening to turn their attention to Western targets. We arrived in Lahore, the capital of Pakistan's Punjab province. We're here to meet a man who's part of a hidden army.
Come to the outskirts of Lahore, we're trying to find our contact. It's getting a little bit dark now. We're still okay, but we do have to be a bit cautious because militants in Pakistan have kidnapped foreigners before. These guys say that they can guarantee our safety, but the sooner we see them, the better.
The man we're here to meet was a member of LASKER E Toiba, the army of the righteous. Even in Pakistan, it's a banned terrorist organisation, directly blamed for Mumbai and a string of deadly attacks in India.
Okay, so we've come to this rather poor suburb, rather narrow alleyway in the poor suburb of Lahore to meet these guys. Just trying to be as quick as possible. It's best we don't stay here too long. So we'll try and spend about half an hour with them and then we'll leave. We just never know.
ये सारा कुछ है गन पॉइंट पे तो कुछ नहीं किया जा सकता वो शोर भी डालते हैं कि गन पॉइंट पे होता है ऐसा मत
Asadullah told me for 10 years he'd been one of thousands of fighters in Lashkar E Toiba fighting Indian forces in Kashmir.
हम तकरीबन कोई 26 है.
He told me he and 26 friends fought in Kashmir, but he was the only one who survived.
They went on 2 major missions. In those missions, he personally killed an Indian major, and in the other mission, he killed 3 Indian soldiers. And he said, while, of course, it was very difficult over there, it's a blessing of God that he survived and came back.
Asadullah's past means he now prefers to stay anonymous. In the 10 years that he fought for them, Lashkar E Toiba moved from simply fighting in Kashmir to launching terrorist attacks in India. Lashkar's terrorist activities brought international condemnation. It was even banned in Pakistan. But the UN says they're operating under a new name, and we heard they're organising a rally.
This is a pro-Kashmir rally being organised by the JAMAT UD DAWA, which is an organisation which has been banned as a terrorist front by the United Nations, but is allowed to operate openly here in Pakistan.
This was JAMAT UD DAWA's first public gathering since the attack on Mumbai. India has accused its leader of masterminding that attack. Yet the organisation claims it's nothing more than an Islamic charity and denies it's a front for Lashkar E Toiba and its terrorism. For a charitable organisation, we were surprised by its violent rhetoric. One of the senior leaders of the JUD, Maulana Abdulaziz, issued a call to arms. The message from the stage was that Muslims cannot rely on outside help to win Kashmir's independence.
We will continue to fight for the people of Kashmir, for Kashmir, because we don't trust the United Nations, we don't trust the international community. We will continue to fight as JAMAT UD DAWA in Kashmir.
Another speaker told the crowd it was a religious duty to struggle and fight for Kashmir.
The speaker here is saying that all Muslims should be united, particularly when there's a threat, and that we as a group, as JAMAT UD DAWA, have done all sorts of jihad. Jihad with money, jihad through the media, and physical jihad when we've needed to do that. So there's no shying away from the use of physical violence.
We found the city of Lahore in lockdown.
Driving around Lahore, one of the first things I noticed is a lot of security. Armed men in at the gates of most facilities here, And this is, I'm told, because of the threat of extremist attack. And this is in what used to be one of the most liberal cities in Pakistan.
A number of Islamist groups, such as the Pakistani Taliban, had attacked government and Western targets. These attacks have created a climate of fear for everyone.
Okay, so as you can see behind me, security at the hotel is quite tight. They've got vehicle blockers, they check the cars front and back for bombs and explosives, they check the baggage and the people coming inside here. This has been particularly heightened in the past couple of days because police have just caught 6 Pakistani Taliban members who said that they were going to attack the Pearl Continental. They were caught with 1 suicide vest and 26 grenades.
I wanted to find out more about whether the JAMAT UD DAWA leaders I'd seen at the rally were the charity workers they claimed to be, or frontmen for the terrorist organisation LASKER E TOIYABA.
So to try and understand a little bit more about what this group is really all about and what they do, we've come to one of the most authoritative writers here in the country, Amir Rashid. So obviously writing about these issues in Pakistan can be dangerous, and this is something that's quite new, the security, the level of security here. The LASKER E TOIYABA, which was banned, I believe, in Pakistan, and has been blamed for Mumbai, are they one and the same thing as JAMAT UD DAWA? Because they claim they're not, of course.
The issue is that every time pressure has come upon them since 2002, they've changed their name, they've closed one office, opened another office, closed one bank account, opened another bank account. So there's been this kind of game of, this shell game of subterfuge and reappearance, and then, you know, going underground again and then reappearing in a new light. And now, of course, they say they're totally an Islamic charity. But the fact of the matter is that they are still very active politically. They are still called for jihad against India. They call for jihad against Kashmir. Now, I mean, you wouldn't be doing that if you were just a charity. You know, you'd be talking about saving people's souls rather than going out and having this militant ideology.
So LASKER E TOIYABA and JAMAT UD DAWA are the same thing?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, after Mumbai, for example, there was, again, a pressure on them. They were told to close their offices. Everyone here still calls them LASKER E TOIYABA because that's what they are.
JAMAT UD DAWA generally shuns all Western media attention. But after difficult negotiations through a local contact, we got word that we could meet them. We were told to drive to the outskirts of the market town of Muridki.
We're about an hour outside Lahore and deep in the countryside here. It's a very typically poor country village, poverty everywhere.
We were nervous about how we would be received. Once this was a military training camp for the banned LASKER E TOIYABA. But now it's the headquarters of JAMAT UD DAWA. The group has hundreds of offices across Pakistan.
They're a bit jumpy about us filming, we just have to be a bit careful about this. Access through a TV crew is very rare here. Initial impressions are, on my left-hand side there's a new hospital. Here there's what looks like a school for young men, or even a hostel potentially. It's very much the feeling of a city or a town within a town, completely walled off, and their own facilities and tight security on the outside.
If the UN was right about JAMAT UD DAWA, we were now inside the nerve centre of one of the world's most dangerous terrorist networks. Senior members of the organisation had decided they wanted to give us a tour to show the charitable work they do here.
So we're now being taken to the hospital here. Interestingly, the guy on the left in front of us is the guy from JAMAT UD DAWA. The guy on the right is the guy who's been appointed by the state government, the provincial government here, to administer the JAMAT UD DAWA activities.
Our guides told us they offered medical care to thousands of villagers. We met Riaz Ahmed, who told us he'd brought his 4-year-old daughter Zainab here for treatment of a chest infection.
Can I ask why you've come to this facility and not to a government clinic?
Riaz said he came here because it was cheaper than any alternative.
He says, if I was to take my daughter to the government facility, it would cost me 400 to 500 rupees. That's about £4 or £5, basically. But he says here it cost me 20 rupees. And for that, I get good treatment, I get good attention, and he showed me I get this medicine here included in that price, which is something I need for the health of my daughter.
He told me that JAMAT UD DAWA was helping many people here and wasn't doing anything wrong. The facilities were clearly well resourced.
Who pays for this? How do you get the money to buy this?
Chief spokesman Yahya Mujahid told me the supplies were donated by supportive businesses from across Pakistan. It was clear that JUD was well funded and had supporters at all levels of society. Opponents claim that this centre is used to raise funds that are then channelled into terrorism. JUD deny this. JAMAT UD DAWA maintain donations are spent on facilities like these.
Oh, I see. How does this compare to the nearest government operating theatre?
Almost same.
And how far is the nearest government?
No.
Far away.
In the far-flung area, there is no.
So you see, we are serving. Please convey our message to the world. We are serving, inshallah. We are nothing to do anything here.
Nothing to do what?
Which you are illegal.
Any illegal activity.
Nothing illegal.
What is discussing upon? We are doing the.
It was clear our escorts were aware of how they were perceived by outsiders. We were taken to the compound school where they teach more than 400 young men. JAMAT UD DAWA were keen to stress that the children here are taught the state curriculum, but they're accused of using their schools to radicalise and recruit.
Assalamu alaikum. That's okay, they can keep their study going, it's okay. What were they doing?
If you will see, you can observe that this is related to the modern education techniques.
Modern educational techniques. The planets?
Yeah.
Earth, yeah. And what's this one? This is a religious one?
Mosque. This is the mosque.
The mosque.
We were shown the posters you'd see in any classroom, but among them was one condemning the occupation of Muslim lands by Israel and the West. The JUD members were keen to keep our conversation focused on their charity work, but we wanted to hear their response to claims that this was a terrorist base.
The fact that the UN, or the United States and the UN, listed the JAMAT UD DAWA as a front for terrorist activities, the fact that India accused LASKER E TOIYABA of the attack in Mumbai, I mean, why would they do that if there's no evidence against you?
Yahya told us India was behind the UN decision to label JAMAT UD DAWA as a terrorist group.
He's saying that they are not. That's not true. We are two completely separate organisations. LASKER E TOIYABA is focused on fighting in Kashmir, is that fair? In Indian-held Kashmir, whereas the JAMAT UD DAWA is focused on relief and medical facilities and educational facilities in Pakistan. But they are two completely separate organisations.
Yahya told us some members were not happy about us filming. The longer we stayed, the more unwelcome we felt.
This is the seminary behind me, where there is the religious madrasa, where they do Islamic religious education. The spokesman is saying to us that we can't film in there because they would be offended by the TV camera. We're being filmed while they're studying Islam. So that, and as you can see, different crowds are gathering. Sometimes he's saying that if we're filming, people might not like that. Is that right? Yes. Yes? Okay, so we're going to go and try and film at the mosque.
Yahya seemed to be getting worried. He said we should continue our tour by car. but the mood had changed. Suddenly, we realised we were being escorted off the base. The tour was over.
Oh. So, are we leaving now?
The spokesman told us that he could no longer guarantee our safety.
He's saying there are some people in here who don't like being filmed, and they don't like the fact that we're filming in this place, so that he's saying that we should now finish and leave.
It seemed the JAMAT UD DAWA had shown us all they wanted. We returned to Lahore. I wanted to know why, when the rest of the world says JAMAT UD DAWA are a front for terrorism, the Pakistani government tolerates them.
Evan Williams, very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I know you're very...
Rana Sanaullah Khan is Punjab's law minister.
I ask about JAMAT UD DAWA because the international attention is on them. Are they the same group as LASKER E TOIYABA?
Yes. There is JAMAT UD DAWA.
To my surprise, the minister agreed that although many people in JUD do good work, it's not just a charity.
JAMAT UD DAWA people are doing these terrorist activities in Kashmir, and they said this openly. They said this is the war of liberation, and this is war of independence, this is war for Islam.
The JAMAT UD DAWA organisation is still there, it's still collecting money, it's still active. Why is that?
If only 1,000 people.
The minister feared that if JUD was closed, it would respond with a wave of suicide attacks.
But is that why the Punjab government doesn't close down JAMAT UD DAWA? Because of that strength of feeling, that militancy?
No, we have closed down everything.
But they're still running. The organisation's still there. That's the thing I don't quite understand.
No,
even though they're under your administration.
No, they are not running anything.
Militant.
They are not running as any office as JAMAT UD DAWA.
But as you know,
they are not running any school as JAMAT UD DAWA. They are running not any hospital as JAMAT UD DAWA.
But it's the same people.
If a hospital is there,
yeah,
and 100 people are giving their 10,000 rupees per month, and the people are benefited there and in the shape of medicine, what
exactly
need for closing that?
To close it down.
The minister had accepted that JAMAT UD DAWA was more than a charity. But it seemed that popular support for the organisation throughout society meant that it was untouchable, whatever the outside world might say. Although we'd outstayed our welcome at the JUD base, we wanted to see how much popular support they had here in the city. It was Friday and we headed for the group's main mosque.
We've noticed that half the road is blocked off. There's security everywhere. This is for Friday prayers because they're worried about attack and increased security. We've got to be very careful how we film this, though. All right, okay, stop.
We approached to ask permission to film and were immediately surrounded by JUD security. One young man asked us if we were working for American intelligence.
So we've been given 5 minutes to film the entrance of the main JAMAT UD DAWA mosque here, and we're trying to negotiate further access, but it's very tense.
Spokesman Yahya Mujahid, who we'd met at the headquarters, arrived. He told us many people here didn't want to be filmed for religious reasons, but they were also scared of attack and suspicious of strangers. He was keen to show the size of their following.
So I'm being told by the spokesman that we should shoot here to show the number of motorcycles, the number of people coming to Friday prayers here at the main JAMAT UD DAWA mosque. He says that on good days they can have up to 10,000 people. He says the message is one of follow Islam, follow it strictly, do the right thing, don't do anything illegal.
Although the government had told us that they were closely monitoring JAMAT UD DAWA, here the police seemed to be protecting them. Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, the ISI, helped set up many of the groups that have fought and supported Pakistan's struggle to regain Kashmir. Groups such as JAMAT UD DAWA maintain many sympathisers within the military. We got a call from the local journalist we'd been working with, wanting to meet us urgently at our hotel. Our fixer has just had a call from a friend saying that the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, which is the military-run secret service here, a very powerful organisation in Pakistan, has been asking about him. They want more personal details about who he is, what he's doing, why he's working with us, what we're trying to do, and exactly what our project is. He said he's worried mainly because journalists have gone missing here in the past. If you do something that the ISI doesn't like, they can bring you in, you can be interrogated, and in the past people have disappeared. We arranged to meet the former intelligence chief who was responsible for setting up many of Pakistan's militant groups. Hamid Gul is now retired, but remains politically involved in the struggle for Kashmir. These Pakistani militant groups at the moment, they've received state help and sponsorship and support and on behalf of the West in the past.
Yes.
But what's the situation now?
Well, Pakistan officially did not support them at all. They were, of course, they were not blocked either, because there was a whole lot of free world support behind them. If you remember...
Gul warned that if Islamist militants triumphed in neighbouring Afghanistan, a new wave of radicalised fighters would turn their attention to Kashmir. While Kashmir remains in the status it's in right now,
yes,
what is the immediate future in terms of Pakistanis who might want to go and fight there?
I tell you, the situation is simply awaiting a resolution of the Afghan conflict. Once this happens and the Indians don't come to their senses, Pakistan and India both will be in trouble.
What do you mean?
I mean, if Pakistan resists the jihadis, then there will be a problem, because, you know, a huge victory will have fallen in the lap of the jihadis. And this is bound to have a very profound effect. There will be uprising in Kashmir, massive uprising. Maybe it will lead to an armed conflict between the two countries. And then the jihadis would be the right arm of the Pakistan army.
We'd heard stark warnings that any attempt to crush groups like JAMAT UD DAWA would create a popular backlash. It could lead to all-out war between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, and like Palestine before it, become the rallying cry for targeting the West. We went to a large rally in support of Kashmir, part organised by JAMAT UD DAWA. All the banners are saying that Kashmir will be part of Pakistan, that it is the jugular of Pakistan, that it will never let it go, it will be part of our country, and it must be resolved through a UN resolution. The UN has passed a resolution calling for self-determination in Kashmir, but India has so far failed to implement it. Whether LASKER E Toiba and JAMAT UD DAWA are the same organisation is perhaps beside the point. The fact is, their members are pursuing the same goal, and if they continue to feel that the West is siding with India, the West will become a target. With the increased radicalisation that has swept the region as a result of the war in Afghanistan and the advent of global jihad, there will be no shortage of new recruits. If you'd like to know more about JAMAT UD DAWA or any other stories on Unreported World, please go to our website, channel4.com/unreportedworld.
Next tonight on 4 Dispatches, tracing the marathon's millions.